Hello friends, very good morning. Welcome to ASTRA. Today is the last but one day of this year 2022. So I am going to cover the Hindu current affairs. So we have some sad news from the so-called Argentina or Brazil particularly. Pele has passed away, and then there are certain tribes. We'll discuss about those tribes and some news coming from Israel as well as news from RTI Act. So these are the things that we have for the current affairs. Along with this, we will see what are important for prelims perspective in today's Hindu newspaper, as well as what are important for mains and what are important for PSR students from today's newspaper. So this is Dhanunjay. I am coming out with this Hindu Astra. So let's start with today's discussion directly. So today it is 30th of December, the Hindu. First thing, remote EVMs ready to help migrants vote outside the state. This is a welcoming move for democracy because the Election Commission of India is now giving or is in a process to give voting right to the migrants who are residing outside the state. As per 2011 census, almost 37% of Indians are migrants. Who is a migrant? A person who has moved out from his place of residence. That migrant may be internal migrant, that is inside your state or inside your country, and a migrant, that is a person going outside your country, right? So this is a good move as far as election commissions is considered. We have to wait and see whether this EVMs, that is the new EVMs, RVMs, remote electronic voting machines, RVMs, how they are going to work out and what are the things that it is going to get associated. Obviously, the opposition party has said that this might seriously undermine the trust in electoral system, but it is not correct to pass the judgments without testing, because so far in the history of election commission, it has upheld the democracy by various means. If this gets success, this is another milestone, or this is going to be another feather in the success of Indian Election Commission of India. So that is one news that it is coming. For your updation, that's it. In the front page, there is one more article saying that RT-PCR negative report must for 8 travelers from 5 Asian countries. So the 5 Asian countries of China, Japan, South Korea, Singapore and Thailand. In view of the rising COVID-19 cases in all these countries, Government of India has said that RT-PCR negative report is must. Now the question that they will ask is, what is this RT-PCR? Right, that you have to know. Now PCR is polymerized chain reactions. RT-PCR is reverse transcriptome polymerized chain reactions. But before that, what is this PCR? What is this RT-PCR? What we have to understand is how exactly we are going to get tested. Something called tested about a pathogen which is present in our body. Pathogens are disease-causing organisms which are entering into our body. Now, in order for this test, you have 3 tests that are present in order to test your pathogens. One is antigen test, antibody test, molecular test. Now, what is this antigen test and what is this antibody test? Antigens and antibodies. Antigens are the pathogens that are entering into our body, and this test is going to detect that pathogen directly. Antibody test is after a pathogen enters into your body, our body is going to develop some hormones which are known as antibodies, or develop some response to it, and that is called antibodies. So this test is seeing that enzymes, whether the body is releasing that enzymes or not. So if you are testing that, then that is called antigen test and antibody test. The third most thing is molecular test. Molecular test is involving this RT-PCR, LAMP test, NAT test, these things. Now this is going to test the genes inside the human body, and then it is going to detect whether that genes is available in our body or not, whether that corona genes is available in body or not. Now what is the difference between antigen test, antibody test and molecular test? Now antigen test is going to take 1 hour or less, antibody test taking 1 or 3 days, maximum the result will be on same day. But when it comes to the antibody test, it may take, when it comes to the molecular test, it might take up to 1 week at least. So this is the thing. The rest of the things I will take a separate class to discuss how exactly this is done. But what is PCR? Polymerase chain reaction. Now, in order to test any gene, what you have to do is the genes are made up of DNAs, right? Now, you have to magnify the genes and you have to test whether exactly that coronavirus is present or not. That is actually the thing is. So, polymerase chain reaction is a reaction which magnifies or amplifies the gene. Gene will be very small. Now, that gets amplified when you go and conduct this polymerase chain reaction. So that is polymerase chain reaction. That is magnifying a DNA molecule. That is called PCR. Now what is this RT before it? Reverse transcriptase. Reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction. Now reverse transcription means converting an RNA into DNA and then going for polymerase chain reaction. Because polymerase chain reaction can be done only with the DNA. As a result, RNA has to be converted into DNA. For that conversion, you have reverse transcription. There is one enzyme called reverse transcription enzyme. By using that, you are going to convert that RNA into DNA and then you magnify the DNA and then check whether DNA coronavirus is present or not. Now, why exactly RT-PCR is required for COVID test? That is the question. Because COVID-19 virus is a RNA virus. So it doesn't have double helical structure like DNA, but it is single stranded structure like RNA. Hence, this RNA of COVID has to be converted into DNA and then you can test whether you have that thing or not. Right. So reverse transcription is used for converting that mRNA into DNA. Previous year question. That is why I am stressing here. This is the one. Now, after converting that into DNA, then you go for reverse transcriptase, then you go for polymerase chain reaction. It will go through 35 cycles. In the 35 billion new copies of viral DNA are created. Then you can go and test it by using some fluorescent dyes. What is this fluorescent dyes and everything? That we'll discuss some other time in the vaccines. But for now, you just understand this. RT-PCR, RT is reverse transcription, DNA, reverse transcriptase polymerase chain reaction. Polymerase chain reaction is magnifying the DNA. Reverse transcription is converting RNA into DNA. Why to convert? Because coronavirus is an RNA virus. So this is the first news that you have as far as this is considered. And RT-PCR is the most appropriate or the most effective thing among all these tests. This test might fail, this might fail, but RT-PCR is the most effective thing among all this. So this is the first one. The second news, some sad news again coming from Indian pharmacy. Recently, we all know this because of consumption of an anti-cough syrup, right? Cough syrups in Gambia. There is a place called Gambia. Almost some children has passed away. Almost 35 children passed away in Gambia, and it was accused that Indian pharmacies cough syrup is responsible for that. As this event is very fresh, and another event has taken place in Uzbekistan recently, where again it has contaminated and resulted in 18 children deaths. So this is something which is going on with Indian pharmacy. So cough syrup, what will be the questions for prelims? Congo, remember that, and Uzbekistan, you have to remember that. These are the two places where our cough syrups failed, which resulted in the deaths of some big children. Now Indian government is testing whether that is exactly the cause, whether that cough syrup is exactly the cause for the death or not. So this is something that you have in the news. Just remember these two countries, Gambia, Uzbekistan. So President, for use of technology and instrument of social justice, what is social justice? Ensuring that the socially weaker sections are getting equity. Who are socially weaker sections? Children, women, aged persons, physically disabled, physically challenged persons, and then your tribes, SCs, STs, and then rural poor, urban poor, then LGBT communities. All these sections come under the so-called marginalized sections, and doing them the justice is known as social justice. Now President of India is saying that you have to use technology in ensuring social justice is reaching. Obviously, technology is playing a vital role in delivering justice, maybe in the form of direct delivery through this e-court system or on-file filing of the complaints in online, or when it comes to the social welfare measures, using some technological advancements like direct benefit transfer by eliminating the middlemen. This is going to do social justice. Why I have highlighted this is not for prelims but for mains. In some essay writing, you can use how technology is going to be helpful in attaining this social justice. That is what we have. And then this was all not important for UPSC particularly. As I am focusing on UPSC, I am saying this. There is one question, one particular community from Karnataka known as Veera Shivas or Ukkalingas. They might ask this question. Veera Shivas and Ukkalingas are communities present in which state? That is the question. They are present in Karnataka. So, Panchamashali sect. So, we all know Veera Shivas is the concept of the so-called Basavanna, right? So now they are demanding that they have to be under OBC quotas. But remember the terms Veera Shivas and Ukkalingas are the communities present in Karnataka. They belong to Panchamashali sect. Veera Shaivism is found by Basavanna. In history you might be studying it. Some great news or happy news coming from RBI. Yesterday we have seen, and the editorial is about the same thing. So credit challenges, this is very good news that RBI in its recent report on the banks, that is Trends and Progress of Banking Sector in India. Remember the report, Trends and Progress of Banking Sector in India is the report of RBI. It has studied about what are the positives that Indian banks have. So RBI said that consolidated bank sheet of Indian commercial banks has showed double-digit growth after 7 years. So growth of the banks started picking up. And the second thing is the credit dispersal, that is the amount of loans that the banks has given has increased substantially over the last year. The third thing is there was some improvement in the so-called gross NPAs. It has declined substantially from 2017-18. It was at a peak and it declined to 5% in September 2022, which is again a very relief measure for the banks. Now, why this has occurred, whatever I have highlighted in blue, that is the causes. Healthier overtake of the central bank's quality asset review that RBI is doing regularly, mandates for stressed assets recognition, and write-offs by commercial banks. These are the major reasons, and recovery through insolvency bankruptcy code. These are the reasons for which there was a decline in NPAs. You can use this in your answers, right? And recently there is another positive news that private capital expenditure also has touched 3 lakh crores in India. So these are the positives which are coming from the market and financial intermediaries altogether in the Indian economy. So this is going to help Indian economy over a period of time. However, the problems here are two things. One problem is banks has to make sure that whenever they are giving extra credit, they have to be very much guarded against these loans turning out to be NPAs again. That is the first thing. The second thing is the global economy is on a very slow down. So banks has to make sure very sure that they are following up these loans rigorously. The third thing that the banks particularly are facing now is, though the credit has increased, the deposits that the banks are getting is very, very minimal, because the investors or the depositors, they are shying away from depositing the so-called banks because of the less interest rate that it is yielding because of the inflation that India has seen from January 2022 to September 2022. So almost 9 months India has been in this inflation. As a result, the rate of interest that people are getting from the banks are very, very less. As a result, they are not going and depositing the amount in the banks. On the other side, banks are feeling this crunch that credit is increasing but deposits are decreasing. So these are the three problems. One problem is depositors are not depositing their amount in the money in the banks. The second one is there is global economic slowdown. So they have to be very sure that the loans that they have given is not turning out to be a bad loan. Third one is they have to ensure that these loans are tightly guarded. So these are the three things that RBI has to see. But more or less, a very positive move from the banks. One side is gross NPAs of the banks are reduced. The second one is there was double-digit growth after 7 years. And the third thing is private capital expenditure has reached almost 3 lakh crores in Indian sector or Indian economy. These are all showing that the fundamentals of macroeconomic parameters of our country are very strong. And this is the editorial. So that is why I have given this with an emoji, right? That is the thing. Friendly neighbors, just have a look. India must boost ties with Maldives without taking sides in politics. Right, recently there was some news coming from Maldives, that is Maldivian president, former Maldivian president Abdullah Yamin has been sentenced for, criminal court has been sentenced for conviction. So obviously whenever something is happening in our borders, we have to make sure that this is not going to be having spillover effect on the Indians, particularly a country like Maldives. Always Maldives political turmoil is going to have an impact on India, but what is important for prelims is just have a look at what are the borders of India and where Maldives is present. Have a look at map pointing where Maldives is present. Now in a mains GS paper 2, you can write that only one sentence. Indian neighborhood, particularly Maldives, will have more political, if there is political instability in Maldives, that is going to hit India. That is the thing. Next, leveraging wise technology to combat cyber fraud. Now recently there was some news according to RBI that every day in India 100 crore rupees were lost because of cyber frauds in the last 7 years. This is the data that you can use for mains answer writing. But apart from that, what is this wise technology? Wise technology is just like your finger print. Whenever you are opening a mobile, if you are using fingerprint, that is called fingerprint biometrics. If you are using your voice to open a laptop or an electronic gadget, then that is called wise technology. Now this is going to play a very crucial role to safeguard our equipments, to safeguard our online electronic transactions very safe from cyber frauds. So he is telling that wise technology has to be promoted. Wise technology, what it is? Keeping a wise as a password, that is called wise technology. Nothing more beyond this. For political science students, there is some news that is coming from representative politics, or this is something called role of identity politics. Particularly the identity here they have spoken is about religion. How religion is playing a crucial role in Indian politics. You have that separate topic. If you are interested, please go through it. But one thing that you have to definitely go through is, in any representative form of government, there will be 3 types of representatives as per Hannah F. Pitkin. What are the 3 representations that you have? One is political representation, substantial representation. Political representation is of 2 types. One is descriptive, one is symbolic, third one is substantial. Descriptive, symbolic and substantial representation as per Hannah F. Pitkin. Now, which type of political representation is present in India? That is what he has dealt here, particularly by taking the context of Uttar Pradesh and how the southern states of India are having somewhat substantial representation, whereas the northern states are suffering, or it is still in the image of descriptive representation and symbolic representation. Now, what is this descriptive and symbolic representation? Descriptive representation means representation resembles the people they claim to represent. This is just claiming that I am representing them, but in reality, the voters will not be getting anything from this representation. That is called descriptive. For descriptive sake, there will be person. What is symbolic? Symbolic means symbols indicate your culture. So they will come during the times of festivals, they will come during the times of some celebrations, they take part in that and then they represent it. That is called symbolic representation. But they are not looking at the actual problems that these minorities or these religions, sects are facing. Right? Whereas substantial is actually targeting on what exactly is the problem that a particular community is facing, and tackling that problem is called substantial. So representative or descriptive representation is, for namesake you will have a person as a representative. For symbolic means they will take part in some happy moments, that is cultural events, but they don't look at the substantial component, that is the real component that is suffering the people. The substantial part is looking at the problems of people altogether. Now, for whom this article is only for political science students, but for others I don't prefer much to read. Should India revive its position on Taliban? We all know that Taliban are ruling party in the so-called Afghanistan, and India has been building up some bridges with Afghanistan in a friendly manner. But if you look at what are the recent happenings that are happening in Afghanistan, particularly they are undermining the human rights, undermining the women rights, undermining the migrant rights, undermining the religious rights. Altogether is happening in Afghanistan. as a result, whether India has to continue its pro-Taliban stand or whether it has to go with another stand. But what I say is, before reading this, always make sure that you follow the trend of how India's external affairs is carried, right? So as far as some news is coming from External Affairs Ministry, better not to take a reverse stand against our government, right? So go through this, you'll get some inputs. PSR students, please look at it. But general students, if you are interested, you can read it. Otherwise, not one thing. So Sri Lanka this year was some turmoil. So that is what about Sri Lanka. But there is one thing from this particular tribes that is known as Bonda Tribes. Bonda Tribes. These are Bonda Tribes. So the question is where they are present. They might ask this. Bonda Tribes are present. Bonda Tribes are present in Malkangiri of Odisha. So remember that term and where they are present. Malkangiri. So what is their attires? They use only beards and strip of cloth to cover their bodies. So they just use some strips of cloth and beards. So this is what their unique way of dressing is. So they might ask these questions in prelims. So just remember at least Bonda Tribes is present where. So they are using some beads and only some strips of cloth to cover their bodies. This is their culture, right? So just remember where these Bonda Tribes are present. The next one is Modi government didn't keep its promise to double farmers' income. Yes. In the year 2016, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has announced that by 2022, that is by next 5 years, we are going to double farmers' income to that of 2016 level. But we are on the last day of December 2022. But that doubling of farmers' income has not come. So that is what highlighted by Congress, and they are demanding that white paper has to be released. Yes, this is something that the government couldn't meet as far as this is considered. So just remember, they have kept the target up to 2022 from 2016, but we haven't achieved that. So there is some news coming from Tamil Nadu. One sad news is Tamil Nadu, which is one of the pioneer states to implement RTI in the country, shows that it is worst performing these days. So while the Tamil Nadu National Information Commission furnished only 14% of the details, Maharashtra was second. So the least responsive state for RTI is Tamil Nadu, followed by Maharashtra. So Tamil Nadu is the least, followed by Maharashtra. Now what is this RTI Act? Everything that will be covered in another class, but for now remember, former Prime Minister VP Singh said, free flow of information from the government to the people will not only create an enlightened and informed public opinion, but also render those in authority accountable. So accountability and informed citizens will be formed because of your RTI Act. As a result, RTI Act is very important. But when did RTI came into force? RTI came into force in the year 2005, and India is the 48th country in the world to have RTI Act. So this is something that you have to remember. Apart from that, nothing is important from this again. So some news coming from the so-called Eurasian Politics, that is geopolitics of Eurasia. Ukraine missiles lands in Belarus to target Ukraine. Now Belarus supported Russia's fight against Ukraine. So you all know that. So why I have given this is the fighting is going on, but for prelims, please look at the borders of Ukraine and borders of Belarus. Belarus is bordered by Ukraine, Poland, Latvia, Lithuania, Russia. So Russia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Ukraine are the borders of Belarus. Also please look at the borders of Ukraine. This is going to be very, very important. So Russia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Ukraine. Okay, this is the thing. And some other news coming from Israel. So again, Israel's political instability is continuing with the Prime Minister coming back. That is Benjamin Netanyahu has come back and as a head of Israel's new far-right government. So he has again reiterated his standard. He has come to power. Now we are not much bothered about the political crisis that is going on in Israel, but for prelims, the borders of Israel is very, very important. The most important is West Asia as far as map pointing is concerned. Please look at the borders of Israel. So Israel is surrounded by Egypt, the Golan Heights. Egypt, this is called Sinai Peninsula. Jordan, Syria, Lebanon. So Israel is surrounded by Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Sinai Peninsula. One more thing is Jordan is a landlocked country. Always remember this, Jordan is a landlocked country. What do I mean by landlocked country? It is not opening to Mediterranean Sea. Mediterranean Sea is this, Jordan doesn't open to Mediterranean Sea. Previous year question. And again, look at Israel. In Israel, you have Golan Heights, which are surrounding between Syria, Lebanon, and Israel. Golan Heights, West Bank is present here, and then you have Gaza Strip. West Bank, Gaza Strip is under Palestine rule. The rest of the things that is in orange color is under Israel rule. So please go through this map pointing, that will be helpful. Apart from that, nothing is more important. Another thing from economy is current account deficit has widened in the Q2 to 9-year high, reaching 4.4% on trade gap. Now, what is this current account deficit? Current account deficit is a part of your balance of payments. What is balance of payments? It is a systematic record of all economic transactions done between the residents or non-residents of a country over a period of time. This might be, you have studied this in economy. Now, balance of payments are of two types, current account and capital account. On the current account side, you have two things, that is called visible and invisible. On the visible sides, you have goods. On the invisible, you have services, interest, transfers. Now, goods and services together is known as balance in trade. That is, whether you are exporting or importing more, that is called BOT. If it is all together current account, if you are considering visibles and invisibles, if it is surplus, that is called current account surplus. If it is deficit, it is called current account deficit. Where it is discussed, we have discussed this in our regular classes of economy. Please have a look at it. Now, the thing that they are saying is current account deficit has increased, but please note what is this current account deficit, what is this current account, and what is that is capital account. Very important for your prelims again. So, Indian economy is presented at a poignant position so that we can have some cushion against the global shock, some positive news coming from Shaktikanta Das. Now, with the year 2023 brings some support for small savings. What are the small savings? That is most important. Now, small savings instruments, or what are small savings instruments or schemes? Small savings are major sources of household savings in India. It has 12 instruments or 12 schemes. What are those 12 schemes? They may be classified into 3: postal deposits, savings certificates, social security schemes. Right? In the post office, you will have saving account, RD account, time deposit of varying maturities, monthly investment schemes. In the savings certificates, you have National Savings Certificate, Kisan Vikas Patras. In the social security scheme, Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana, Public Provident Fund, and Senior Citizenship. So these are the things that you have under small savings schemes. Please remember, this is important. And then, who determines the interest rate of small saving funds? Very, very important. Ministry of Finance is going to determine it on quarterly basis. So this is determined by Ministry of Finance. Very, very important, guys. And there is one committee known as Shyamala Gopinathan panel to recommend on how to constitute these small savings schemes, has suggested market linked interest payment. It has to be linked to market payment. So they might ask this question also. Shyamala Gopinathan panel is important. Just remember what is this panel for. But most importantly, who determines the rate of small saving banks? It is Ministry of Finance under quarterly basis. And what are the small saving instruments? To save smaller amounts, you will have in post offices, savings certificates, and savings security schemes. Right? This is what you have. Sad news again coming from Brazil. The famous Brazil football icon Pele has passed away recently. Some bad news. And what about Pele? What is the greatness of this guy? So he is 3 times World Cup winner who masterminded the beautiful game, so-called football. He is known as the athlete of the century by the International Olympic Committee in 1999. Pele is named as the athlete of the century. So 20th decade athlete is Pele. That is the greatness of this guy. So he was born with the name Edson Arantes da Nascimento. Edson Nascimento. Remember, Edson Nascimento is who? Pele. He is nicknamed as Rai. Rai means the king in Brazil. So this is the greatness of this guy. He has passed away. Just remember, these things might be asked because UPSC has shifted its focus in the last year towards sports also. So this guy is important. Have a look. Brazilian football icon Pele has passed away. He is the only player who has won 3 football World Cups, only player in history to win 3 World Cups, and has scored more than 1,000 goals in his career. So That is the reason why he is called as athlete of the century, right? So these are the things that we have. Going to the text and context page, there is some quarrel between Karnataka and Maharashtra on the borders. So this is about, this border is going back to the so-called State Reorganization Act in the year 1957, where Karnataka and Maharashtra are saying that we get some lands, we get some lands. This is some land dispute which is going on, and recently this was escalated, and that is the reason why this is in news. Now, Article 263 of Indian Constitution speaks about forming an interstate council. The President can form interstate council whenever he is thinking that if there are some disputes between the state, he can form an interstate council to settle the disputes, or to settle some intrastate subjects among the states, he can form interstate council. So interstate council is important. And one more commission which is related to this dispute is Mahajan Commission. Now, Mahajan Commission was constituted by Indira Gandhi in order to inquire into this type of dispute. This dispute is, I said, way back in 1956, till that time it is there. Hence, Mahajan Committee was launched to look into the claims of Maharashtra and Karnataka over these borders. Some bad news again from Videocon, Chanda Kocho. Now, this can be used in ethics answer writing. So, this is misuse of powers. She misused her powers, and she has given some extra funding or extra loans to Videocon by using her position. So, Serious Fraud Investigation Organization has started this case against her. Right, guys, these are the news that we have. So, in essence, what are the things that we have here? In short, we have something called RT-PCR. Please go through it. And then I have discussed about Okkaliklas and Veera Shivas. I have discussed about some editorials that are important for political science students particularly. And then we have discussed about what is the stand that India has to take on this. And then RTI, and then Belarus and Israel borders with the passing away of Pele. We have also discussed this. So this is the current affairs for today. I think that there is some noise outside. That is why more noise is invested here. If you have facing the problem of noise, sorry for today. We are going to rectify it tomorrow. Thanks for joining. Keep updated. Take care. Goodbye all.